जयधारी माँ। हर जीवन अनेक प्रकार के रंगों से भरा हुआ है। बातचीत वही रंग बांटेगी आप सबके साथ। हम सब एक हैं, बस सोच अलग अलग है। बटोर लीजिए उन रंगों को, जो भी आप चाहें इस बातचीत से, और ढाल लीजिए अपनी सोच में। यही मकसद है इस बातचीत का। आइए मिलते हैं अपने प्यारे से मेहमान से। अतिथि देवो भव।
जयधारी माँ मम्मी।
जयधारी।
राधे राधे। राधे
राधे राधे।
राधे राधे जी। हमारी ऑडियंसेस का स्वागत है और हमारे जेके योग परिवार का स्वागत है। आइए जुड़िए जुड़िए। हमारे जो थॉट्स हैं, विचार है, सोच है, दैट लीड्स टू एक्शन, एंड उससे हमारा भाग्य लिखा जाता है। सो इट ऑल स्टार्ट्स विद अ थॉट। आज हमें स्वामी जी बताएंगे ऑल अबाउट पावर ऑफ थॉट्स। हमें वो ज्ञान देंगे, हमें वो प्यार देंगे, हमें गाइड करेंगे, हमें रास्ता दिखाएंगे। आप ये जानिए कि पावर ऑफ थॉट्स पे ध्यान देना कितना जरूरी है, बिकॉज द राइट काइंड ऑफ थॉट्स is going to strengthen your future in the real sense. हमारी किताब स्वामी जी's book Power of Thoughts. Mommy and I are feeling very blessed holding the book, feeling the book, being able to open the book, feel the pages of the book, feel Swamiji's love and care in this book. This book is all about his love and care for all of us. हमारी जो किताब है, Swamiji's book, is going to be reaching the bookshelves on June 13th. उससे पहले आप Amazon पे किताब को प्री ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं। सो इंतजार मत करें। जी, आप इसको प्री ऑर्डर कर सकते हैं Amazon पे, और 13 जून से इट विल रीच द शेल्फ्स। पेंगुइन ने इसको पब्लिश किया है, एंड दिस इज स्वामीजी's love and care. This is Swamiji's blessings to take us.
Blessings to the universe. Blessings to the humanity.
जी, आइए हम स्वामी जी पे एक वीडियो देखते हैं और फिर we absorb his words and blessings. आइए एक वीडियो देखते हैं।
Swami Mukundananda is a global spiritual leader, best-selling author, Vedic scholar, and IIT IIM graduate. Swamiji has an exceptional ability to convert ancient yogic knowledge into wisdom for everyday living. He is a founder of various non-profit organizations like a charitable hospital, a naturopathy hospital, spiritual centers across the world, the beautiful Radha Krishna temple of Dallas, and is presently constructing a university in Odisha. Swamiji is the best-selling author of The Science of Mind Management and 7 Mindsets for Success. He is the founder of the yogic system called JKYog. Swami Mukundananda is transforming lives across the world.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Dr. Kiran Bedi ji and Saina, and all your wonderful listeners and viewers. What a pleasure to be on your show today.
Jai Thari Ma Swamiji, Radhe Radhe Swamiji. Mummy,
We're
we
very blessed, Swamiji. Very, very blessed. We've been hearing you all the way on various channels, reading your earlier books, and you've left no age group untouched. You've included even wisdom for children. I was sending your messages to my grandchild in the United States, and you've given them everything. You've given bhajan, you've given shlokas, you've given wisdom for the children, the Indian culture, which the parents in the West are looking for. You've not ignored any age group and anybody. How wonderful, how blessed we are that we have you amidst us. Thank you so much for accepting a humble request. And you gave us such a precious time of yours. Thanks to Saina and her team in the demonstrative learning. They were so sure that you would say yes. And I want to thank Upasna because we connected through the Gita, remember the Bhagavad Gita festival?
Prasanna.
Prasanna. Sorry, not Upasna, Prasanna. It was amazing how Prasanna, and there was a reason. When Prasanna connected us for the Bhagavad Gita, we didn't know it will lead us to Baatcheet as well.
Yes, Dr. Kiran Bedi ji and Saina, you have such nice, such noble, such sublime thoughts. And that is what attracts God's grace. I am just a tiny, insignificant servant of God, but in whatever way I can help and serve, it is always a privilege. And to meet people with good thoughts is such a great pleasure.
Tell us about the latest book of yours, Swamiji. This latest book.
Yes, Dr. Bedi, all of us want to lead better lives. We want to become better individuals. We want to do better things. And we wish to be happier as a result of it all. Now, thoughts are integral to every aspect of our life experience. The emotions of happiness are a consequence of thoughts. The emotions of sadness are also a result of thought. Anxiety comes from thoughts. Euphoria comes from thoughts. And all we do is preceded by thoughts. So, humankind is focused on actions, which is very natural. They want to see how to do better things. But very often, this causation is missed out. That preceding every action is the thoughts. And we are mass producing 60,000 thoughts every day. Now, their quality is not under our control, the quantity is not the best, and that is why our life experience then does not remain satisfactory. Now, imagine if we were to sit for a meal and have no control over what comes into our mouth. So instead of having the roti dipped in dal, touched with the chutney, and then putting it in mouth, if only the chilies and pickles kept coming in the mouth, how terrible that experience would be. But that is what happens with these thoughts. They come as gate crashers. Very often we know that these thoughts are not to our best interest, but we don't seem to know how to control them. So in this book, I have divided the topic of thoughts into two parts. The first is the nature of thoughts, and how to recognize and eliminate negative thoughts. And the second is the power of positive thoughts and how to unleash them for ourselves. So that is the humble offering in this book.
Swamiji, do the thoughts come or we generate the thoughts? Where do they come from? Do we generate them or they just come as a habit? What happens? What comes first? We choose or the thoughts choose us? Where do they come from?
That is a good question. This mind is like a factory for thoughts, and it's generating thoughts out of control. Somebody said to me, Swamiji, my mind likes to work on the weekends overtime without any pay. It just goes on and on thinking. Now, to answer your question, very often we realize that these thoughts are not in accordance with our values. The thoughts could be of immoral thoughts, thoughts could be of negativity, etc. And when these thoughts come, we feel disturbed. Why did such a thought come and trouble me? But we don't realize that we and thoughts have a gap. That gap can be understood when we understand that we are not the mind but divine souls. And this mind, which is creating thoughts, is like a machine. So the problem is that we are not realizing the gap. And we are thinking, I am the mind. So, because of this confusion, when a wrong thought comes, we think, I am the source of this thought. And that is what disturbs us. Now, one lady came to me and said, Swamiji, I've got a little infant child, but I'm in real trouble. So I said, what is the trouble? She said, Swamiji, you will not believe it. I said, how old is your baby? She said, 2 months old. So she said, Swamiji, I'm so disturbed. I said, do you get the thought of taking your baby and slamming it against the wall? She said, how did you come to know? Now, what was the problem here? Thousands of thoughts come to the mind and they go by. In those thousands, as a great crasher, this thought came that what if I were to lift my baby and slam it against the wall? Now, if she had dissociated herself with the thought, it would have faded away in the next moment. But the moment she held on to it and started moralizing, why did I think like this? Now, definitely it was completely against her deepest desires, and that troubled her. And she energized that thought even more and more. Why am I thinking like this? So, these thoughts are not us. They are generated by the material mind. It is our choice whether to accept them or to reject them. And mind management is all about training the mind to create the kinds of thoughts that we want it to. And that becomes intentional thinking. So everybody naturally engages in reactive thinking. If something happens in the environment, it leads to a sentiment outside our control. That we are habituated to. To change things around, we decide, no, I don't have to accept every thought that my mind offers. Instead, in this situation, can I think differently? Let's say, for example, somebody appeared for a job interview and failed. Now the mind says, I failed. Oh my God, I'm so bad. I will never succeed. This is reactive thinking. And intentional thinking says, well, Possibly it was not my lucky day. Maybe I did not get asked the questions that I wanted. I think if I work hard, I can do better. That is intentional thinking. So, all growth, all effective work in life happens as a result of intentional thinking. When we take the reins of our mind in our hands and say, okay, Mani Ram, तुमको ऐसा नहीं सोचना है, तुमको ऐसा सोचना है. That is intentional thinking.
Saina, yours.
Ji, Swamiji, there are all kinds of forces around us. There are positive forces, there are light forces, there are dark forces. Impure thoughts, the dark forces actually feed on the impure mind or the impure thoughts. But one can't purify the thoughts till it's not a need and want in a person.
Yes.
How do you even realize that it's time to change the way one thinks?
Yes. Saina, thoughts, our scriptures look on everything as energy. So there's one Shaktiman and there are all his Shaktis. There are subtle energies in the atmosphere, the electromagnetic waves. You cannot see them, but they exist. And likewise, our thoughts are also subtle energies. So you have rightly pointed out that they impact the environment, they impact people. I have given the example of a person, a monk who used to reside in the Himalayas, close to Mansarovar. And when he would sit there, because of his peaceful thoughts, the Rajhansas, they would come and never be disturbed or feel threatened. They would come and sit just by his side, knowing that he would not do anything. And an ornithologist happened to come by from a metropolitan and saw that sight. He had developed the desire to get these Rajahansas, trap them, and take them with him to for the Delhi Zoo. But they would never let him come close because he would always fly away. So he beseeched this monk that, please, Babaji, you have to do this for me. They are not scared of you. You sit there with the cloth, and just two Rajhansa swans will make my day. So this monk then sat down there, but his thoughts had changed. Now his thoughts were not pure, they were evil thoughts. And he would sit in meditation, once in a while open his eyes. Is there a bird around? They refused to come anywhere near him. And that was so surprising for him. But the swans had perceived that change in his energy. So that is the power of the energy we create with our thoughts. Now, you have asked that how to develop, how can people develop the urge to change their thoughts? Every thought carries with it feelings. When you bring a good thought to yourself, your feeling makes you realize you are more comfortable, you are happier, you are uplifted. And if a wrong thought happens to come by, it creates this uneasiness. Why am I thinking like this? And I could be thinking differently. This thought is not the way I should be thinking. So people need to develop a little awareness to their own perceptions, and the thoughts will inform them whether these thoughts are beneficial for them or harmful to them. Then, after that, as a first step, people can focus on feeding their mind. Now, we are all aware of feeding the body, and we want to put good nutrition into ourselves so that we become healthy and live long lives. But we ignore the fact that at every moment we are feeding the mind as well. Unfortunately, the modern environment, the media that we are exposed to, is only bringing out the worst things that they can find. And when people stay glued to it, that is what comes inside them. Now, when they are feeding themselves with all kind of junk food, in this case, junk ideas, it's only natural that worst thoughts will come out. And that is why Mahatma Gandhi had put it so simply. Na sun bura, dekh bura, bol bura. His concept of three monkeys: hear no evil, see no evil, and say no evil. So instead of that, if we can have a diet of holy ideas, of sublime thoughts, of noble concepts, that diet will make a huge change to us.
Swamiji, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, for those who have conquered the mind, it is their friend. For those who have failed to do so, it is their enemy. How does one nourish one's own self with the right kind of thoughts? How does one nourish one's own self?
Yes, Saina, this mind is such a powerful thing. The Western philosopher John Milton had said that the mind is a place of its own, and in itself can make heaven out of hell and hell out of hell. So we have people in the world who had everything, but they did not tend to the garden of their own mind. John Rockefeller, he was, of course, the wealthiest man in the world in his times, but historically, he is considered one of the wealthiest people ever. And he said that I had millions, but it did not bring me one day of happiness. So the reason was that there's a difference between our standard of living and the quality of our life. Money can increase the standard of our living. It can give us the goods, the luxuries, the necessities we want. Money can help somebody buy a house, but money cannot ensure a loving family. Money can help us get medicines, but it cannot bestow good health. So, that quality of our life is the real thing, and that depends upon the mind. So Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he has said that, look, Arjun, if you do not control your mind, it will become your enemy. Forget about all the enemies outside. We are always thinking this is bad, that is bad, that is bad. Sri Krishna says, Arjun, the worst enemy you have is your own uncontrolled mind. But if you learn the science of controlling it, so somebody said that it is the worst master, the mind, if it's your master, and it is your best servant if you have learned to subdue it. So to control the mind, we can involve another faculty that we possess, and that is the intellect. Like they say that you have to balance the head and the heart. If somebody is all head and doesn't know how to feel, it is dangerous. And if somebody is all heart and cannot balance with the head, that also becomes dangerous. So we have to hold both of these in balance. With the intellect, we can always hold the mind in check. When the mind is suggesting to us, I'm not enthused and I've lost my motivation. Now, that is a thought or feeling the mind is creating. You correct it with the intellect, bring good knowledge. This human life is so precious, it's a gift of God. And I just have a little, I don't know how many days I have left. Every day is a blessing. Why should I not use it to the best of my ability? Now, when this knowledge is held in the intellect, the mind then starts responding and it starts filling up with inspiration. So, Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita calls this Buddhi Yoga, the yoga of the intellect.
Swamiji, as a seeker, there are two questions coming to my mind. But before that, since you've spoken about the heart, we would like to show you your heart. We like to show you your heart. Let's see the clip.
Oh my God.
In a blessed way, we'd like to show you.
I am so excited. I'd like to see it for myself.
We'd like to show you your heart, Swamiji.
Wow, my God. You know, Saina, I have been in so many hundreds of interviews, but this is the first time anyone has ever done that. And you have really got the the core strand of my heart.
It's all their kripa, Swamiji. It's all their kripa. It's all their kripa. Swamiji, would you like to share a few words about Gurudev?
Gurudev, my God. The first time when I saw him, I was at that time in Mumbai. So prior to seeing him, a book of his came in my hand, and it had him in his Bhav Samadhi. So I saw that and I said, my God, this personality reaches that elevated state. I must definitely meet him. And he happened to come to Mumbai, and that is where I met him. And the first time I saw him, he was doing a kirtan. So he wrote thousands of kirtans and he was singing the lines. So this line was Hamaro Dhan Radha 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 Radha. He would sing it from right, the voice would come up from his stomach and he would take his hand up there in complete absorption. And the people in the room were responding with so much of energy, it gave me the feeling that the room is going to go look. So I said, wow, he's got an ocean of knowledge and an ocean of love as well. So I decided, I was already a monk at that time for 5 years when I met him. So I decided that he's the one I need to surrender to. Later on, Maharaji, he said that Mukundanand, that's the name he gave me. So he said Mukundanand recognized me as somebody would recognize their mother. So that was the intensity of the pull that I felt at that time. And there was no doubt or no question that he is the one I want to surrender to. And so he is the one who put me on this track of seva, and what I'm doing is just an offering to him.
It's all their kripa, Swamiji. It's all their kripa, and your bond with him is eternal. It's blessed by Lord Krishna and Maradha. It's
Yeah.
your
Swamiji?
bond with him.
Very
Carry.
good.
Your bond with him is eternal.
Yes,
Swamiji,
absolutely.
Ji. Swamiji, bhakti.
Sure.
You got the prasad of bhakti. Is bhakti asking more of yourself each day? Does it mean asking more of yourself? More faith, more surrender, more non-reactiveness, more love, more wisdom,
Mm,
more clearing of karma, more cleaning of karma. Is that what bhakti is? Asking more of yourself each day.
yes. Bhakti, love, devotion, that is the strongest, the deepest aspect of the human nature. Like they say in English that God is love and love is God. So love is an aspect of the divine, and we get it by His grace. What you have asked about is in relation to esoteric aspect of bhakti. On one hand, we are told that learn to be contented, don't have more desires, just relax your aspirations, and definitely stay away from greed. And on the other hand, the bhakt, the devotee, is full of aspirations. I want more love. I want more knowledge. I want to serve more. The natural sentiment of any devotee is, I have not done anything so far. I need to do so much more. So, how is that? Well, all these desires, once they are directed towards the divine,
Yes.
now they are not selfishly oriented. While in the world, we wanted to be bigger, stronger, richer, etc., now they are all dovetailed towards the divine. That desire is no longer unholy. In fact, any desire towards the divine becomes sublime and uplifting. So the devotees say, oh God, when will you give me darshan? Now that desire is so intense, but it's completely purifying. As one poet said, Ya anuragi chitta ki gati samjhe nahi koy, ज्यों ज्यों डूबे श्याम रंग त्यों त्यों उज्जवल होए. People don't understand the nature of the heart as the color of Sham Sundar falls on it. Sham Sundar is dark colored. Now that dark color is falling, but the heart is becoming brighter and brighter, means cleaner and cleaner. So, spirituality, devotion is all about igniting those desires and aspirations for God and increasing them a thousandfold, a millionfold. That is why the Ramayana says, Sita Rama Charan Rati More Anudina Padhi Anugraha Tore. This is the greed that, oh God, please keep increasing my love on a daily basis. So you say, are you being so selfish? No, I want more love so that I can, with that devotion, I can serve you more and give you more pleasure. So, because the goal becomes the pleasure and happiness of the divine, that is why that desire is not only not selfish, but also extremely purifying. So, bhakti is exactly this, to keep, to every day exert yourself, and then at the end of it, think that I have not done anything, I need to do so much better. And there's infinite scope, that the journey of the soul is ad infinitum. So there's always infinite scope for going ahead further and further.
Swamiji, Prabhu says, out of billions, Only few thousands will walk the path, and only few will know me. It's by God's grace you can think of God. How do we invoke? Because grace will come to us as prasad. They just give it to us in our choli.
Yes, definitely there is a self effort that is involved. Our sanskars coming from past lives, they keep on adding up. The efforts, the purusharth that you put in this life. But at the same time, the sentiment of a devotee is that these were all very meager efforts. And if it was not his causeless grace, I would never be on the path. So we should definitely keep on putting our efforts. Maharshi Vasisht, he gave a very practical instruction to Bhagwan Ram, because Ram is doing Nar Leela, so he's the Shishya. So Vasishti said, Karta Bahir Akarta Antar Vihara Raghava, says Ram, externally put in your best efforts as if it's dependent on you. But internally, cultivate the sentiment that I'm only a little instrument. It is all God's grace. If He wants, it will happen. So if we just say, okay, phir Bhagwan hi karega, then there's a chance that we may become lazy. And say, okay, then just sit down. Ram bharose khaye ki rahe ghat pe soye. But then they also say, God helps those who help themselves. So we have to hold both these ideas, contradictory ideas at the same time, that you are working for His pleasure and also internally thinking it is all His grace that is making it happen.
Ji, ji. Mami, with your Agya, I'm going to ask another shloka to Swamiji. It's all flowing with Ma's Kripa. Swamiji, Prabhu says, fight for the sake of duty, treating alike happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat, fulfilling your responsibility. In this way, you will never ever incur sin. Karma out of righteousness, Swamiji. We keep doing our duty.
Keep doing your duty. Yes. Sin gets incurred when our intention is impure. Now, somebody doesn't even have to do the act. Two criminals are planning to rob from a bank, and the police, they get whiff of it. They come and say, okay, you are arrested, you have committed a crime. They say, we never did anything at all. So you never did anything, but your intention was impure. That impure intention was the most important thing. On the other hand, somebody has pure intention. Now there's a riot happening there, and the district magistrate tells the police, fire. And the police fires, and two people die. And later on, there's an inquiry. They say, you murdered. The police say, we were following instructions. Ask the DM. And the DM says, I had to control the riot. If we had not fired, then 1,000 people would have died. So the intention there is pure, and hence there is no crime. That is why in the Bhagavad Gita, actually the whole of spirituality is all about purifying our intentions. We may be doing the same things we were doing before. Like Arjun was a warrior before hearing the Gita, and he was a warrior after hearing the Gita as well. Now, what changed was his intention. Earlier on, he thought it's all about him. And later on, he said, I'm doing my duty, and it's all for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. So, because it was for his pleasure, Now, there is no sin that is attached to it. The whole battle is over, and Sri Krishna says Arjun did nothing. Hatvapi sa imal lokan hanti sa nanibadhyate. Yasya naham krito bhavo buddhir yasya na lipyati. Sri Krishna says, Arjun, those who are doing their works but don't have the sense of doership. Yasya naham krito bhavo. I am not the doer. Buddhir yasya niliptati. The fruits are not for me. The fruits are offered to him. So when we are able to develop that kind of sentiment, then we do our duty, our works, just as a matter of duty. Now, the other option is that somebody gives up all duties and say, okay, I'll go to the Himalayas and sit there and meditate. Right? But what is the guarantee that when they sit in the Himalayas, the mind will remain in God? There is no guarantee. You have people who are sitting in the Himalayas, but the mind is in Delhi and in Mumbai. So Sri Krishna says, Arjun, by nature you are a Kshatriya. If you artificially become a sannyasi, you go into the forest and say, okay, I will also become a Baba. Your nature will not leave you. You will gather the tribals there and become the king of the tribals. So instead of that, use your nature in my service. That message of the Gita is so valuable and so powerful. We carry on doing what we are doing and purify ourselves. So Kabir ji has put it so nicely. He says, Prema bhav ek chahiye, भेष अनेक बनाय, चाहे घर में वास कर, चाहे वन में जाए. Whether you are at home, whether you are in the forest, the important thing is the love for the Lord in the heart.
Mommy, that's the way you've given 40 years to the service.
Audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the way you've given your 40 years to the service. That's the way you
No, I
serve.
just wanted to ask Swamiji.
Ji.
Swamiji, when does this kind of training enter public servant's mind and heart? When? If he's not grown with it, if he's or she has not grown with it, can it enter at a training stage? Can it be learned later? Because either we grow with it at the school level, from home level, this kind of noble thought, this kind of surrender. It's like action with surrender and selfless act and a sense of giving. If it has not entered during the school and the child times, can it enter during the training time? Because look at the kind of investments government departments are making into training for better people as public officials, even better politicians. How does this spirit come into public service? That to me, I think is a very big challenge before this nation.
Yes, Kiran Bedi ji, that is a question that is so valuable. I think you have put it so aptly that this kind of thinking is spiritual thinking. That is the spirituality where we realize that we are not cut off from the universe, but we are tiny parts of a huge system. Now, like the other intelligences can be developed, the analytical intelligence, children develop it as they go through school, even physical intelligence, musical intelligence, and then as adolescents, they start developing emotional intelligence, how to realize their emotions, how to manage their emotions, how to empathize with the emotions of others. Likewise, this is usually the last intelligence that develops. It's Not that it has to develop in later life. It could develop for people earlier as well. So, if they are given the inputs, then the intelligence can be cultivated. So, for example, I look at it as four aspects. The first is self awareness skills, to realize I have a higher self and I have a lower self. So, to be able to distinguish, to realize my values in life and the goal of my life. So, these are the self awareness skills. And the second is the universal awareness skills, that the well being of the whole is also important to my personal well being. I am one with this entire system. Likewise, there are certain laws of the universe which are important. There is the law of karma, as you sow, that shall you also reap. So this awareness can be brought into people through proper education. And then the third is self mastery, which is the ability to keep the higher self in charge and to keep the lower self in check with the help of that. And to actively pursue self growth of the personality, how to become a better individual, how to become a better human being. And the fourth aspect is professionals' uh, skills, in the sense that to contribute in a meaningful way through the profession that we are in. So that awareness and that realization and necessity can be cultivated in people with the help of knowledge. Now, one piece of knowledge I'll really like to share with people, because when I first heard it 40 years ago, it just blew my mind off. The simple analogy of a hand and the body. See, the hand is an integral part of the body, and when it serves the body, it's naturally taken care of. It receives the nourishment that it needs. The hand doesn't need to think, oh, I have to take care of myself. Now, if the hand says that 40 साल हो गए शरीर की सेवा करते करते, just cut me off, I'll take care of myself, it will not even receive the nourishment that it requires. So, in serving what it was a part of, the interest of the hand was naturally met. And that is the concept of bhago bhakti. That, like the hand, we are tiny parts of the Supreme. Sri Krishna says, Mamaivansho, Arjun, all souls are my little paths. So we are thinking, I have to take care of myself, I have to take care of myself. That is all very well. But if instead we start thinking how to serve the Supreme, our interests, the bliss I want, the knowledge I want, the love I want, we will automatically start receiving it. So the moment people get convinced of that, it creates a paradigm shift in the way they look at things and in their value systems.
A very special specified course. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Can you consider designing a very specific specialized course for public servants? Specialized, focused, which addresses the unique challenges officers, senior officers in leadership positions face, at the supervisory level, because they get sometimes contradictory messages, and there's a constant conflict of theirs with their own conscience. How do they resolve?
Yes.
And I guess there isn't it a need for a very specially crafted program designed for the persons in public service, particularly in decision making, and certainly for politicians as well, people in political life, people in public administration.
Yes, Dr. Bedi, this is uh, definitely there's a tremendous need. basically we have got all this wisdom in the scriptures, and people are not realizing its relevance to their day-to-day lives. So it's all there. And what is required is to bring it out and show that it's for your benefit. It's not an imposition. It will just help you in becoming a better person. So, with that in mind, I started when I first came to the West. I was just preaching pure philosophy because I thought that that is so important for people, and people in the West were more practical. What is there in it for me? You are saying I'm the soul and that there is a God. What is there in it for me? Then I realized that what is required is to show the practical relevance of divine wisdom, and started speaking about mind management. Now, it doesn't matter whether somebody believes in God, whether they don't believe in God, because everybody has a mind and they are all harassed by their mind. And they all want to know, how can I use my mind to become a happier person? Right? So, with that in mind, I've been writing thoughts and presenting these ideas over the last few years. I personally strongly believe in the concept of servant leadership. See, uh, slowly, the management circles are coming around to this point that the servant leadership idea is the most effective way of being a leader. And I'm sure that from your experiences, the way you handle the various assignments you had, from your own perspectives, you can definitely testify to that. That this attitude of being a servant leader is the most effective way of being a leader. So, what is required is to bring out this knowledge, keeping certain aspects out so that it retains its secular nature, and bring it out in such a way that people can really connect with it. So, I don't have any such thing ready as yet, but definitely we can take it up as a very wonderful initiative.
Do everybody a lot of good. Maybe it basically Indian culture based. It can be Indian culture designed for Indian administration. Once it's online, if maybe it's even online, I'm sure many government officials would like to join in and seek your guidance. It would really heal them, or maybe guide them, evolve them,
Mm,
grow them. I think maybe a specially short design program for public officials of how to be good servant leadership, truly leadership, servant leadership. It'll be great. It'll be I think it's much needed. I don't think many officials really know who to go to, where to go to, because they need not just reading, but also interpretation.
mm. Yes. That is definitely the need. And with that in mind, we have been having some leadership workshops, etc. In fact, we also instituted a leadership academy. So you let me know the parameters, means the length, the duration, and etc. And we can definitely, I myself along with my team, we can definitely design such a course for their benefit.
Great. Thank you so much. I will get back to the your office team, whichever strategizes. I'll be happy to contribute in any way. The content, the challenges, particularly the challenges.
Absolutely. You have got this whole fund of experience. That's realized knowledge and being a leader in so many situations and so many paradigms and so many environments. So we can definitely tap into that.
जी जी स्वामी जी
My book, Fearless Governance, to you, Swamiji. It has all the challenges which we can pick up if they're common across the board, and we could probably find the elements to design the course. I'll be happy to
Yes.
courier the book.
Perfect, Dr. Bedi. You have seeded the idea, and I am sure it will see the light of day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very blessed.
Ji.
Saina.
Swamiji, Ji, before we, with your permission, conclude, we have about 5 minutes left for the program. We have 5 minutes of this very precious 1 hour we've got with you. A little surprise. We've requested the editor of the book to join us. Can we please have
Oh my God, really?
to
Namaste, Swamiji.
Gurveen is joining us.
Namaste, Gurveen. My
So
God.
good to finally see you.
Yes. So
Surprise.
finally, yes. My God, Saina has got so many surprises up her sleeve. Yesterday, she showed me the book and she said, Swamiji, you've not seen it as yet, and I have seen it. I said, by
And
the
I
time
must
it
tell you,
reaches me,
Swamiji,
yes.
this is already a bestseller on Amazon. If you Google it now on Amazon, it's the #1 book in the spirituality category, and it's in the top 100 books across genres. So congratulations.
Okay, well, thank you and congratulations to you as well, Gurveen.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, share with us that actually these words are all flowing from them. Share this with us, that when you write the book, each word is like a prayer. It flows from them. Share that with us, that how, when you're writing, how do you feel, Swamiji, when you're writing?
Yes, well, we have the limitations of our human personality. So, although the aspiration is there to bring out something so inspiring and wise, the brain is limited, the body is limited, and our personality is so tiny. So, what I used to do was that I would just exert myself and try and progress, and then I would reach a block. So, these were the days when COVID was in full swing. So we were all locked out, and I was in Dallas at that time. So when I would reach this block, then I would say, okay, let me go for a walk. And the moment I would take a walk, the ideas would start streaming in. So this happened one day, the next day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day. Then I said, wow, what is this? The ideas are all there, and we just need to be able to tap into them, or we need the grace to connect with them. So that was a very, very thrilling experience while writing the book.
Gurveen, when you read
Thank you. Gurveen,
Swamiji's
yes,
book,
Gurveen.
how did you feel, Gurveen?
Ma'am, I think the one thing that I want people to know through this show is that this is an extremely important book especially for the time that we're living in right now. This is a time when social media consumes us. We wake up to messages, we sleep with our phones next to us, and we're bombarded with all kinds of thoughts on a daily basis, some good, some not so good. And we're constantly made to feel that we're missing out on something, and that affects our moods and triggers negative thoughts. So Swamiji's book, it provides the right roadmap to channelize your thoughts in the right direction. And a lot of people say Swamiji's books are life changing, and I have personally felt that while working on the book. Because he has a mastery in science management as well. This is not just spiritual wisdom, it's spiritual wisdom combined with science, with practical knowledge, with daily application. So when you're reading the book, there are meditation techniques that you can actually apply to your day-to-day life and actually see changes in yourself. This is the most pertinent book, I think, to have released in the recent past, and I would urge everybody to get themselves a copy and see a change in themselves.
Blessed.
Went into you, Gurveen? What is the specific changes went into you?
Ma'am, so I the book is divided into two parts, and the second part are these meditation techniques that I've actually been incorporating in my day-to-day life. So how you can meditate for a calmer mind. I sort of wake up every morning and I will meditate for 2 minutes, meditate to the sound of music, to the sound of I'm lucky to be staying in Nainital, which is a hill station, so I can always go back, go to a riverside, sit in a corner, listen to the river flowing. And those techniques really help me attract tranquility in such a busy surrounding. Just that 5 minutes of being in touch with my surroundings sort of really helps me go through my day better. And I thank Swamiji for that. I think it's been life changing for me in various aspects. And I think a lot of people will see changes in themselves when they read the book and when they apply it to their day-to-day life.
Ji. A lot of good wishes to you, Gurveen and Penguin. And Penguin, of
Thank you,
course.
Saina. Thank
And a
you.
lot of good wishes to you.
Thank you. Thank you so
It's been an
much.
incredible journey for you
Many
editing
books.
the book, because
You've written so many books. Swamiji, this was a COVID project book, I understand, where you were all
Yes.
locked. But you have written so many books. You've got so many books. So you travel, you reach out, you teach. When do you write?
Manage.
When do you write? You've written so many. And for all genres. When do you write?
When do I write? We have to steal time from here and there. So we have to keep a tab on the quality of the activity that we are utilizing our time for, and we feel if the quality of the activity is getting a little less, then we just switch it. And this is one of a very quality activity that can be done, writing books. So I try and steal a little time here and there for it.
You even
See,
speak about your book. You're so good. You even speak about the book on your website. How very one can get to your website and get a peep into your book and directly. I think it's a very well done.
Yes.
well, Dr. Bailey, I asked my spiritual master about 40 years ago, 35 years ago, Maharaji, what is the best seva that we can do for humankind? And he said that the best seva you can do is to distribute good knowledge. So that is the work that he has engaged me in. Now, distributing good knowledge takes on different forms. One is giving the lectures, speaking to people, clarifying their questions, and the other is the books. So the books have become an integral part of the activity that I have received as service. And that is why, for me, it is an important matter.
I do believe Swamiji is so one with the divine love that whatever they will it, they make sure it happens through his heart, body, soul, mind. He's so one with divine love. He's so one with divine love.
Yes, Saina. But I must say that you surprised me again and again and again. My God. Cheers. That was really wonderful experience. Gurveen, so nice to have met you online first time on Saina's show.
Yes.
And
Thank you for
Dr.
making it
Bedi,
possible.
Dr. Bedi, we are fellow alumni of the same institute. So that's another commonality we have. Pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
everybody.
Swamiji.
Swamiji, we have your permission to
Thank you for your very
conclude.
precious time.
Ji. Do we have your permission to conclude the program?
Yes, definitely. Jai Radhe Radhe and Jai Dharima.
Ji. जी जी राधे राधे,
Very
जय
good.
धारी माँ, जय धारी
Hari
माँ
Ram.
स्वामी जी, राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe. Jai Dhari Ma.
जी जी
Thank
स्वामी
you.
जी,
Thanks.
pranam to you. We seek your blessings. Swami,
Thank you so much. Thank you
thank
for your
you,
very precious
thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
जी Gurveen, thank you
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank you,
here.
Saina. Thank you,
जी
Dr. Kiran Bedi.
जी
And thank the entire
हमारी ऑडियंस
Demonstrative Learning team and the Unacademy for bringing us all together.
जी
Thank you.
जी हमारी
Thank you,
ऑडियंस
Swamiji.
का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, जेके योग परिवार का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. We have also a lot of gratitude to Gurveen and Penguin for
My
such a
pleasure.
जी 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 स्वामी जी को स्वामी जी को पूरा का पूरा प्रणाम. And with your permission we conclude.
Yes.
आपने आज जाना, आपने आज देखा, आप हर इमोशन, हर थॉट को अगर आप पर्पस ड्रिवन कर देंगे, अगर आप अपने जीवन को पर्पस ड्रिवन कर देंगे, तो उनकी कृपा विल फ्लो थ्रू. अपनी सोच को, अपने कर्म को, अपने भाव को, अपने इमोशंस को पर्पस ड्रिवन करिए. आपको मिलेंगे अगले महीने, आपको मिलेंगे अगले महीने. प्रणाम स्वामी जी, प्रणाम.
Thank you.
जी
Thanks.
धारी जी, प्रणाम जी.